Welcome to the Soul Archaeology podcast, a space for connection, resonance, witnessing, and learning. Together we'll harvest medicine from the spiral of life, sharing conversations with other embodied humans who have navigated their own initiations and found alignment with their true soul essence. With weekly astrology, energy updates, embodied conversation, and channeled teachings, this is a space for you to land and find resonance with the spiral of your own soul. Hello there. I am connecting with you from the desert, from Joshua Tree, and so happy to be connecting with you from this space. We are returning to our home in Topanga later this afternoon. We got the notification that our zone was open to residents, feeling extremely grateful to all of the first responders and neighbors and community members who did so much to protect our canyon, and also simultaneously really grieving for those who don't get to receive that same good news and comfort and familiarity of home. And home is something we've been examining so much throughout this time, this month of January, because we have Mars, of course, retrograding back into Cancer, really until April. We had a full moon in Cancer last week, so home is really at the forefront of our consciousness. Examining what is home, what does home mean to us, how can we access this sense of home and safety within. And we're also seeing the beginnings of the lessons that Pluto and Aquarius has to deliver. As Mars retrogrades through Cancer, we're really being invited to examine our relationship with home, with safety, protection, and even regeneration at the deepest level. Cancer's connected to the fourth house of home, of roots, of soil. And this time is really a primal reset point. We talked a lot about how this year would be both the end and the beginning of a new season, a new chapter, a new timeline. In so many ways, we are still completing. We're breaking down, transmuting, dissolving. The opposition that we had between Mars and Pluto on January 3rd really illuminated the alchemical process of transmutation, transforming fear into wisdom, loss into strength. And like the phoenix rising from the ashes, my hope is that so much wisdom will be born from this time. New ways of being and existing, coexisting with the land, the animals, the creatures, the land spirits. I think we're all aware that there's a major imbalance. And oftentimes the only way to create new ways is to dissolve the old ways. And I think for many of us, we are dissolving this within our own unconscious spaces. And collectively, we're seeing it as far as our systems. So realizing whether or not our systems that are in place are actually working, are actually serving, are actually sustainable, the energy will not be slowing down. Things will not become less chaotic in our lifetime. That's my belief, at least. So the work is to build more resilient systems to manage and deal with chaos, finding anchor points that really sustain us through these waves of disruption, planning for these times as much as we can, deepening into the earth's wisdom, the wisdom that we receive from spirit, from our ancestors, and from the people who walked these lands before us. We need to stretch our capacity, our nervous systems, in order to grow and expand. We have to experience challenge. We have to titrate and pendulate and become so self-aware that we know when we can deepen into the discomfort and when it's time to pull back, restore, and build more capacity over time. This can look like having boundaries around your devices right now, how much you're able to take in of the chaos that's happening all over the world. It might be noticing when you need some alone time to drop into your own internal space. It can look like shutting off the news. And when it's really time to re-enter the space of discomfort, acting, mobilizing, responding, supporting, learning and taking in more information and data. And for those of us that are impacted in a different way, whether or not it's from the fires that occurred in Los Angeles or what's happening across the world in Gaza or what's happened in North Carolina and the people that are still sleeping in tents. If we're not directly involved or directly impacted by these events, it's really our responsibility to train our nervous systems to act and respond in ways that we can, to hold space for those who are in active trauma. Our nervous systems may be stretched, but they're also expanding and learning new ways to hold both vulnerability and power. I know I mentioned this before in the 2025 forecast episode, but the energy of this year is similar to 2020. It's the rupture point and the point of new beginnings. It's where we break open to deepen. And we do have to break open to deepen. It's why rupture is so important in relationships. It's how we respond to the rupture that really either fortifies us, deepens our strength, our power, our faith, or it breaks us even further. It creates less stability and more fragmentation. And it's the same with trauma work. We're always looking to repair as closely to the event as possible. We started 2020 with wildfires in Australia. This year, we're starting 2025 with wildfires in Los Angeles. Also, this collective trauma, this collective rupture, similar to COVID times, where there was so much uncertainty, so much unknown, not even related to the fires in LA. I know that's impacting me personally, but also just seeing it play out collectively as well across the board. There's so much unknown. I think we can all sort of sense and feel that massive change and transformation is on the horizon, but we can't quite see what it looks like or how it will impact us personally and collectively. And this is so much of what Pluto and Aquarius is trying to teach us, that we have to break things down in order to birth new. Pluto and Capricorn began that breakdown process. Pluto and Aquarius will require us to continue to break down in order to build from the ashes, seeing community rise up, each person stepping into their own unique medicine and purpose, even if that's just anchoring and holding the light from afar. And this is Pluto and Aquarius's first lesson, that we all have a place, we all carry medicine, and we're all essential in this collective transformation. It's here to show us how really resilient and adaptable we are. Collective traumas surface, the darkest of dark and the lightest light. Arsonists and looters taking advantage of those who have lost so much or who don't have access to their homes right now. And people donating and giving when they barely have anything of their own to give. Sending prayers and light. Seeing the amount of donations that have come into Los Angeles is wild to me. The amount of GoFundMes, which I feel like is so Aquarian, taking it into our own hands as power to the people, choosing to support one another, realizing we can do so much when we work together and when we each honor our own unique gifts and capacity to share those gifts. And this week we enter into Aquarius season. On January 20th, we have the beginning of Aquarius season. Right when the sun enters Aquarius on the 21st, We have Sun conjunct Pluto at 1 degree. So this is a big starting point. It's once again that dance that we've been doing for years of endings meeting beginnings. And of course, that's the cycle of life on this planet. But with Aquarius being the second last sign of the zodiac, we are doing cleanup, rewiring, revisiting, reviewing. With 2025 being a 9-year, this is the ending point and the beginning point. It's also the end of the astrological year. As we navigate January, February, and even March, we're in this energy of completion, deepening, rewiring, looking at what is and isn't serving within our lives. It's slow, it's intense, it's deep, gritty work. We're doing remediation, reworking, going in and sorting through the old to prepare for the new year, the new energy. And as we know, if you listen to the 2025 forecast episode, April, May, June, the energy begins to build starting from that point. These are very, very active months. Really, it starts like mid-March. The energy begins to build. So we need this time of conditioning our systems, building resilience, tending to what we need to tend to internally in order to feel safe, anchored, supported, resourced, in order to show up for the others in our lives, in our communities. We are all midwives for one another. And with this conjunction between the Sun and Pluto, I'll kind of go into that in a moment, but many people will be awakening this year, especially as the North Node moves into Pisces. We're going to see this deepening into more spiritual practices that honor the wisdom, the power, and the magic of the unknown, of the unseen. We've been seeing these waves of mass awakening happening throughout our lifetimes. These points where people begin to awaken to what's held within themselves, what's held within their psyche, what's held within their karmic layers and imprint. They begin to awaken to their soul's blueprint, their roadmap, their guide within this lifetime. And that's why we need each other. We need midwives as we navigate that space. It's a scary space. It's a confronting space. So I just invite you to kind of examine, what is your role within this shift? How and where are you serving? Not everyone needs to be a space holder or a practitioner or a healer. We all have very different roles within this collective shift, and we come to this lifetime with different tools and karmic lessons that we're here to learn and navigate through. I'm super excited because I'm working on a North and South Node course, and it will really weave this wisdom and this information to help you understand what you're here to do, why you're here, and how you can practically weave that wisdom into your life right now. But it's an important thing to begin to notice. We're now in the axis of the healer, the North Node in Pisces, the South Node in Virgo, and the Pluto and Aquarius shift. We're all being asked to examine, where are we? What is our place within this collective weaving, this collective fabric? So as we enter Aquarius season this week, we'll begin to start to feel those threads, maybe a gentle or not so gentle push or pressure to examine what our true medicine is. Aquarius is a fixed air sign. It works with crystallized thought patterns and mental structures. It really seeks to revolutionize. It bridges ancient wisdom of time with the revolutionary pulse of the future. Traditionally, it's ruled by Saturn, so it's connected to time. And in modern astrology, it's ruled by Uranus, which is the future. It's revolutionary. It rules the third eye. It represents the moments of sudden awakening that forever alter our understanding of reality. And a lot of astrologers will talk about how Aquarians can be rebellious or revolutionary, but I think in many ways it's much more about individuation, recognizing how our individual spark contributes to the greater flame of human evolution. So it's less about breaking away from the group or the collective and more about finding our authentic place within it. And every Aquarius season will feel intense moving forward because we will have Pluto navigating that space over the next 20 years. So if you have Aquarian placements, just know Pluto is coming for them. And it is bound to transform the part of your chart where Aquarius lands. So whatever house you have Aquarius in, that is going to be fully transformed over the next 20 years. So the invitation is to start thinking about, what do you know now already before this energy builds fully that needs transformation, attunement, attention? If we can work with the energy ahead of time, it won't feel like it crashes over us like a wave. We can begin to plan to proactively access the unconscious spaces within that part of our lives. And of course, now that Pluto is in Aquarius, every year it will feel more intense because we'll have the Sun meeting with Pluto as well. And this year, because Pluto is only at 1 degree, it moves very slowly, the Sun will meet Pluto at 1 degree of Aquarius, so right away. So as the Sun meets Pluto at 1 degree of Aquarius, we will experience an awakening. It's a powerful merging of light and shadow in the realm of fixed air. So it's dealing with thoughts, beliefs, where we are fixed within our belief systems, our patterning. This conjunction really asks us to transform, which is Pluto, our mental constructs and our belief systems at the root level. The fixed nature of Aquarius really tells us that changes, once initiated, will have lasting impact. As we know, Pluto moves very slowly and it deals with outer life themes. We don't always feel the impacts of Pluto in our daily lives, but its impacts are so profound at the roots of our being because it deals with our subconscious within the spaces that we don't always see, we don't always access, but are impacting us in every moment. So we'll see the ripple effect. So this isn't about temporary shifts. This is about monumental shifts within our soul's journey and our journey within this lifetime. This is also really about fundamental changes and alterations to how we think and process information individually and collectively. Communication networks, social media, shared ideas, beliefs, ideals. It's really going to bring us into looking at where we hold fixed beliefs that are ready for transformation, where we have mental patterns that have crystallized and are maybe no longer serving. It's how we share and hold information, how we communicate. Also power dynamics, because Pluto deals with power. It's going to illuminate. The Sun illuminates. It's light, it's consciousness. The shadow, the density, the darkness of Pluto. Pluto is the underworld. It's our subconscious space. It's what's hidden, what is not seen. So the Sun is quite literally turning on the lights in the basement. This transit will last 3 or 4 days, but it's going to awaken something within you that will ripple out through the rest of this year. It's not lost on me that the inauguration is this week as well. We have a lot coming to the surface. It's also wild that the TikTok ban happened during this Sun-Pluto conjunction. It's going to highlight the light and shadow of all things related to beliefs, communication, connection, community, collective. It'll highlight how we connect. Pluto really teaches us that there's always a light and shadow to everything. So technology is both a blessing and a curse. And I've seen that personally unfold over the last 2 weeks. We were seeing kids calling 911 when they would get the TikTok ban notification, really highlighting their addiction to this platform. The way that these addicting social media platforms and these ways of communication like Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, all of it is infused with dopamine. And I think it's really atrophying the ways that we connect in a deeper way. It's also leading to rampant increases in anxiety, depression, especially amongst children and adolescents, teenagers, and even adults. There's a real shadow to technology and to where we're headed as far as communication. And in the lighter aspect, there's radical light and healing that comes from our ability to connect with people from all over the world, to build businesses through these platforms, to be able to connect with people we wouldn't normally be able to connect with. It expands our consciousness. It allows for us to see people and cultures from all over the world. And I've personally seen so much healing come from the WhatsApp group that I've been in for our canyon and social media during this catastrophic event in Los Angeles. The donations, the GoFundMes, like I said, and GoFundMe is such an Aquarian platform, and I think it's truly the future. We cannot rely on our systems and institutions as we could before. This is not to demonize them in any way. We're, I'm so grateful to have what we have, but we simply just are not supported in the ways we really need to be, which is why it's so important to decentralize in certain ways and to give the power back to the people, to see the mobilization, the GoFundMes, the donations, the organizations, the boots on the ground has been absolutely profound. It's a perfect metaphor for the Aquarian age. With that comes a lot of misinformation, alarmists, things that created some stress and anxiety in my system that probably could have been avoided had I not been in those groups. But there's also so much light. So this is the nature of Pluto. It reveals to us the light and the dark, the shadow in all things. And the goal is for us to really find our place within that, find our power within that. I think this is going to further emphasize and lead to the forming of communities and systems within these smaller satellite communities, seeing how these smaller communities layer into the greater communities and the wider communities. Decentralization. While there's a pressure globally to centralize, I think many of us as humans are going to seek less centralization and more community, small, grassroots, boots on the ground systems that really support people in real time, that can respond and act more quickly than the larger systems. And this is, like I said, not to say that either are right or wrong. It's just human nature to evolve and shift in these ways. And we all know shifts have to happen. So even within this larger WhatsApp group for Topanga that we had even pre-fire, all of these subgroups started to form. People who had expertise in certain areas would enter the different specific groups, lend their expertise, their wisdom, their training. We had people who were producers who could be boots on the ground, organizing spreadsheets, organizing food, organizing donations, sending communications. And then we also had people who were a bit further back and observing and holding the light and holding the frequency, offering their services for support in the aftermath, offering their services for grounding and recentering amidst the chaos. So we're going to see both the light and the shadow of this process of diversifying, of decentralization. This activation point of Pluto and the Sun together will surface the major evolutionary themes, humanity's evolutionary themes. Like I said, the Sun illuminates its light, its consciousness, and it's connecting with the underworld, what's held within our subconscious. And it's also activating the energy that began on January 3rd with the last Mars and Pluto opposition. We'll have another one in April. But we're at that 1 degree Aquarius point again. So we're revisiting these themes that started on January 3rd, power, destruction, anger, reactivity, fear. Pluto is connected to our power. So is Mars. So power dynamics will be surfacing, both our internal power dynamics and the external ones as well. It will also illuminate all the spaces within us that need to transform, connected to the area of your chart of your life that's being activated by Pluto right now. So wherever Aquarius lands in your chart. Mine is my 4th house. So it's absolutely activating themes of early childhood, siblings, where I come from, where I want to be, what is home to me now. It's been something I've been sitting with for well over a year now, and it feels dense. It feels like it's an underworld journey in many ways. This Pluto-Sun conjunction awakens. It awakens what's hidden within us or the collective, what's within our own unconscious spaces and the collective unconscious. Like I said, this will lead to rapid awakenings. People are waking up. It really accelerated during COVID. This is one of those points again that's going to accelerate it. We're going to see mass awakenings. People need place to go during their awakening period. Revelations, illuminations, all of that can be so confronting, activating for our nervous system, our subconscious, which is looking for familiarity and safety, what we've known before. So while this major awakening is happening, we're also navigating this slowness, this deepening with Mars retrograding through Cancer. It's really asking for us to dissolve our heart walls. I recorded an episode in December about heart walls and this transit and how it really would pull us out of fear and survival and into our hearts. We need to move and operate from the heart moving forward in order to build these communities, these new systems, these new ways. It will require us to go into the spaces where we hold fear in order to dissolve those points of calcification, fear. What's so interesting is that fear blocks us from not only the love that we seek from others, but at the root, it blocks us from the love that we seek from ourselves. So you might be seeing power dynamics surfacing this week and even previous weeks with Mars retrograde in Cancer. Anger, jealousy, fear, themes around home, belonging, safety, mothering, grief really breaks the heart open so that we can connect more and love more, so we can deepen into our relationships, our relationship to self and our relationship to others. We connect more deeply through rupture, whether it's rupture at a grand scale like this collective rupture we're experiencing, or whether it's a rupture in your relationships, in your relationship to self. But these cracking open points where all of a sudden we get to feel and experience all of the grief that didn't have space to be felt before. Experiencing grief resonates through space and time. It activates all the spaces within our body that holds grief from times before when we didn't have the space to process and feel it. So these moments of cracking open of collective and personal grief are initiations. They allow us to deepen into ourselves, to mature, to ripen, to grow into the spaces that hold fear, that hold grief and shame, fear. It lets us feel into those spaces, to tend to them, to love them, to repair those spaces within ourselves. And all of a sudden, those spaces that we were blocked from now become a home. They become habitable, livable once again. We bring love and warmth to spaces that have only felt rejection. Yet we have so very few systems for grief. And Francis Weller talks a lot about this, and I love his work so much. If you're not familiar with it, I would recommend looking into his work. His book, The Wild Edge of Sorrow, has really supported me through many grief portals. But it teaches us the power, the alchemical force, the gifts of grief, and how when we're given space and support to feel our grief, it becomes such a powerful alchemical process in space. Although certain pain points may never disappear, it can become fertile ground for new growth, new beginnings, more love, more light, more awakening. And when we surrender to this alchemical process of grief, it allows us to crack open to new levels of love as well. Grief really carves out space to hold more, feel more, love, light, and joy. Joy highlights the richness of grief and vice versa. And I really believe that true growth and evolution occur when we listen to and honor our capacity for difficulty, challenge, darkness, and allow it to ripen us, revealing more intimately the preciousness of life. The sacred is often found in the spaces we avoid. And Francis Weller says, grief and joy are sisters. Our pain is a gateway, not a dead end. So just keep all of this in mind as you navigate this ever-present process of death and transformation, rebirth. I'm still not home, so I don't have my normal cards, but my friend Jess, I'm staying at her home in the desert, and she has the Mystical Shaman Oracle Guide, Oracle deck, and I've used this a lot in the past as well, and it's pretty wild because when I was going to pull the card, I got the intuitive download that I would be pulling the fire card, and I couldn't even remember if fire was a card within this deck, although I imagined it would be, considering it's an elemental, a shamanic deck. But then I pulled the fire card, and so this medicine really wants to come through, and it's all about transformation. So it says, fire consumes anything that it touches. The flames remind us of the impermanent nature of reality and how situations can quickly transform into beauty or chaos. Fire is passion, and its dancing flames invite us to reach to the sky. Warmth and light are heavenly, yet too much heat can scorch us. To fully step into the energy of fire is to be utterly transformed like the phoenix rising from the ashes. The invitation is to let it burn away your hardships. Let it consume your pain and your sorrow. Has life become too rigid or too cold or too superficial? Light a candle or make a bonfire and toss it into the flames. Everything that has become stiff and painful, give it all to the fire for rapid transformation. Set your life on fire. The medicine is, are you feeling too fiery? Have you been reactive and short-tempered towards others? This card has come to tell you that all fiery emotions directed at others can backfire at you. It is not a good idea to play with fire when you are out of balance or angry. Notice, now is the time. Now is not the time to act or react. It is time to tame and befriend your inner fire so it does not scorch you. This is very appropriate for this sort of transformative alchemical process that we're in, but also Mars retrograde, where it's having us look at the spaces where we hold anger, resentment, frustration, how we react and respond to life. So it is bringing us into the medicine of fire and also acknowledging its power and its destructive nature as well. Thank you so, so much for being here, for, of course, sending your well wishes, your love, your support. It's been just incredible and really reflective of everything I'm describing in this podcast around collective support and community and how important it is to surround yourself with people who see you and understand you and really love you. I'm so grateful that you're here, that you are present and showing up for yourself, your own growth, healing, evolution, and also supporting this podcast. It truly means the world. I am hoping to grow it even more in 2025. So I'm so grateful every time you share it on socials, anytime you share it with a friend or a family member. It just truly means the world to me. So thank you. Thank you. I'm going to be linking a spreadsheet that has all of the GoFundMes. I'm sure there's more that aren't on the spreadsheet, but this is a great way. Maybe you can even just scan through some of them and select one that maybe is underfunded right now. I know many people in the Altadena community have lost absolutely everything, potentially won't be able to rebuild. And I think that, just kind of intuitively selecting someone who is in need, providing that love, that support from a stranger can mean so much to someone in despair. So I will be linking that. I'm also linking the 2025 forecast workshop. If you haven't done it, I highly recommend it. Will highlight and break down all of these major transits that we're navigating through 2025, how you can work with the energy now to plan, to do all of the things to sort of anchor and ground and center yourself so that when we begin to navigate these really transformative phases, you are prepared. So that will be linked in the show notes as well. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm sending you all so much love.